Tonight, we confront a deeply troubling trend in modern Britain, the war on free speech. A recent report from The Times has revealed that UK police are making more than 30 arrests a day, more than 12,000 annually, for so-called offensive online messages. Let that sink in for a moment. 30 people every single day are being dragged into custody for their words, not their actions. This is not the Britain of free thought and open debate that we were promised. Hi, I'm Christys and this is GBN Originals. Let's begin with the facts. These arrests are being carried out under Section 127 of the Communications Act 2003 and Section 1 of the Malicious Communications Act 1988. These laws criminalise sending messages deemed grossly offensive, indecent or obscene via electronic communications. Now, I want to make one thing very, very clear. If someone sends someone a perceived death threat on one of these messages or something along those lines, then obviously the police should go and knock on their door. Or if someone's overtly racist in one of these messages, the police should knock on their door. But if it's just hurty words, which I suspect the vast majority of this is, then why are we wasting police time with this nonsense and giving people criminal records to boot? In 2023 alone, police forces recorded a staggering 12,183 arrests, a 58% increase from pre-pandemic levels in 2019, when there was just a mere 7,734 arrests. While arrests have skyrocketed, convictions and sentences have plummeted. And this is quite an interesting point here, because Ministry of Justice figures show that only 1,119 people were sentenced for these offences in 2023. So that's down nearly half from 2015. Why is this then? So more arrests, huge numbers of arrests, and seemingly fewer actual convictions. Well, because many cases fall due to evidential difficulties or a lack of victim support for prosecution, which is interesting again, isn't it? Because presumably the police would have acted because someone has reported this to them. I don't believe the police just randomly trawl the internet and then decide that that was particularly offensive. It has to be brought to the police's attention. So if there is a lack of victim support for prosecution, does that not imply that the people that this message was directed at to begin with didn't actually find it that offensive or threatening? It was maybe people reporting it on their behalf and the police took action. So why are thousands being arrested in the first place, though? Is it justice or is it intimidation? Consider some of the most egregious examples from recent years. So in March this year, Maxie Allen and Rosalind Levine were arrested at their home. 6 police officers rocked up. They criticised their daughter's school in a private WhatsApp group. They were locked in a cell for 8 hours before the case was dropped. The MP for that local area also said he was threatened as well. If he didn't stop showing support for them, the police said, allegedly, they were going to do him for harassment. Is that not intimidation? Have you been getting a load of spam in your email recently? What about random calls? It's really annoying, isn't it? Data brokers are out there collecting your personal information. Anything from your email, your full name, your address, and even your political affiliation. Cyber criminals can even use AI to mimic the voices of friends and family to trick people into sending them money. And it gets even worse. People out there are getting huge loans taken out in their names without even knowing about it. But don't worry, because the sponsor of this video, Cony, can help. They reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information is removed from their databases. Cony continues to make sure that your data is removed automatically from the internet via repeated removal requests. So, how can you get started? Well, step 1, hit the link in the description, create an Cony account and tell us whose data you'd like removed. Step 2, grant Cony the right to work on your behalf. Step 3, sit back, relax and watch Cony work. They will update consistently so you know when your data has been removed. Cony is risk-free for 30 days, so you can try it for yourself and you'll get a free refund if the service isn't for you. So take back your personal data today with Cony. Use the code GBNews using the link in the description below and you'll get 60% off an annual payment plan. In July 2022, Army veteran Darren Brady was arrested for sharing an image of Progress Pride flags arranged into the shape of a swastika. He said it was a satirical critique of authoritarianism during Pride Month. Now, of course, the swastika can be a grossly offensive symbol, certainly in the context of the Nazis, of course. However, when it comes to this particular incident, well, it was a joke, wasn't it? Or it was a commentary. He was making a point. And when it comes to being offensive, what about when everyone else is called a Nazi? What about when the spray-painted word Nazi appears on the side of Teslas? What about when politicians are constantly called Nazis or Nazi sympathizers? Do we arrest everyone now for just maybe bringing up that period of time? I don't know. In February 2021, Joseph Kelly was convicted for a tweet about Captain Tom Moore that was deemed to be, quote, grossly offensive. And let's not forget Lucy Connolly, whose case we'll revisit shortly. This was a grieving mother sentenced to 31 months in prison for an offensive tweet about asylum hotels. Like I said, I'll return to that case later, but it is possibly the most egregious example of this. These are not isolated incidents. They are part of a systemic overreach by authorities who seem more concerned with policing thoughts than tackling real crime. Even high-profile figures haven't been spared. Harry Miller, a public figure who runs an organisation called Fair Cop, was contacted by Humberside Police in 2019 for daring to retweet a poem that was deemed to be transphobic. When he asked why he was being investigated, despite absolutely no crime whatsoever being committed, an officer chillingly replied, "We need to check your thinking." Well, think about that. Check your thinking. It's not law enforcement, is it? That's Orwellian thought policing. Comedians like Marcus Meechan, aka Count Dankula, and Joe Brand, actually, have faced legal action for jokes. Yes, jokes. Even parents criticising school policies or individuals questioning government decisions have found themselves under police scrutiny. Meanwhile, everyone will know that we're all less safe in Britain. There's one rape reported every single hour in our capital city. Machete seems to be the latest fashion accessory for anyone under the age of 25 at the moment. I think drugs might have been legalised now because they're everywhere. There was a bloke smoking crack on the tube the other day. I mean, no one seemed to do anything. If you walk out of your flat or your house, it does appear that London, especially, and most major cities now, just stink of cannabis from end to end. So I'm assuming we all missed the memo. Are drugs legal now? Either way, the police don't seem to be doing a huge amount about it. But oh my gosh, if you tweet a poem about a transsexual, then goodness gracious me, you will lose it all in modern Britain. Free speech is the cornerstone of any free society, isn't it? Without it, we cannot hold power to account or challenge bad ideas. And by the way, I would class some of this absolutely most radical gender ideology that's being taught to children in nursery schools and primary schools as one of those bad ideas. Yet here we are, living in a country where expressing dissent might land you in jail. And this is it for me. It's not the actual doing of it, so very few of us might have had a knock on the door from police. But because we all know that a very well-meaning couple somewhere in Hertfordshire got a knock on the door from 6 police officers and then put in a police cell for 8 hours before the case was dropped, it makes you think, doesn't it? Is this done, do you think, in a very public way to try to scare the rest of us into silence? Now, let me take you back to what I was talking about before. This is Lucy Connolly's case. I think it's the most glaring example of this disturbing trend. Now, as I said earlier, Connolly is currently serving a 31-month prison sentence for an offensive social media post made in the very emotional aftermath of the Southport killings. Her words are indefensible. She called for mass deportations, that bit's fine, but then she suggested, of course, burning hotels, housing asylum seekers. Now, that isn't acceptable. I don't think anyone thinks that is acceptable. But she deleted the post within hours. She then apologised profusely. There is context here. She says, and her family members have recently done interviews saying that she was suffering quite badly from PTSD at the time due to a significant trauma in her life and perhaps wasn't in her right mind when she tweeted that. There are other aspects to it. The idea that she's some kind of frothing racist. Well, unfortunately for those people, she actually works as a child carer and has been a child carer for a variety of different nationalities, including Somalis, etc. In fact, the quote from her mother is, "It always looks like the blooming United Nations around here." I don't think that's someone who's an out-and-out racist. Do you? But despite all of this, she was handed that sentence harsher than many violent offenders received. And just on that, more people have now been arrested for the disorder in the wake of the Southport riots in Rotherham. For that, they've been arrested for that. More people are in prison for that than actual members of grooming gangs, which is a remarkable statistic. Former Home Secretary Suella Braverman called Lucy Connolly's punishment excessive and warned that it sets a dangerous precedent. The quote is this: "She has deliberately been made an example of to intimidate others into silence." Liz Truss described it as a shocking example of Britain's two-tier justice system, where politically inconvenient voices are silenced while real criminals walk free. And let's not forget the human cost here. Connolly has been denied temporary release to visit her seriously ill husband or their young daughter, all because her case has attracted media attention. I mean, she's not Myra Hindley, is she? She's a woman who mistakenly and wrongly put out a disgraceful post for which she has now apologised. And her punishment for that is to be trapped in a prison cell for 31 months, unable to see her seriously ill husband and their young daughter. Do we not think that's a bit excessive? This is cruelty dressed up as justice, in my view. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this is not just about Lucy Connolly or indeed any individual case. This is about all of us. If the police can arrest parents for sarcastic WhatsApp messages or comedians for jokes, what's stopping them from coming after you next? And that's why they do it, isn't it? Because you know that, don't you? And it does plant a seed in your brain. What happens when your opinion becomes inconvenient to those in power? We hear a lot about how fascism is on the rise in Britain. Every time you see the Refugees Open Borders parades, it's always about smash the fascists. In fact, a smash the fascist group have also teamed up with the pro-Palestine mob for the last year or so as well, haven't they? But who's behaving like fascists here? I'll put that to you. Lucy Connolly isn't just fighting for herself, she's fighting against a system that seems increasingly detached from common sense and from fairness. A system that prioritises political correctness over proportionality. Even across the Atlantic, America is watching us, and they're concerned. The US State Department recently raised alarms about Britain's approach to freedom of speech, warning that it could strain relations between our two nations. Vice President Vance even told Prime Minister Starmer directly, no free trade without free speech. So, where do we go from here? First, we must repeal these vague and overreaching laws that criminalise speech under the guise of protecting feelings. Secondly, we need transparency and accountability within our justice system to ensure that political bias does not dictate who gets punished and who doesn't. But most importantly, we need courage. The courage to stand up against this creeping authoritarianism before it's too late. Britain is at a crossroads. I think we can all see that. I think we can all feel it. Will we choose freedom or will we choose censorship and fear? Well, the choice is ours. Thank you for watching. This has been Patrick Christys. Please don't forget to subscribe to the GB News YouTube channel for more.